Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here at our very, very first annual First Gen Celebration Day. Who's excited about today? You know, we ordered shirts, and people have been picking up the shirts this week, or Friday and today, and they've shared some very personal stories, and I'm really, really happy that we're doing this specific celebration because we get to have those conversations, right? We get to talk about our journey in education. We get to talk about what it means to be first generation in your family to pursue higher education. More than anything, what it means for us to help our students and transform lives because they have access to higher education. So thank you all for all you do. The luncheon has been sponsored by our STEM grant. Thank you so much, Marcella, for paying for lunch. Once you get your food, please come on over to the amphitheater because we'll be starting shortly. And also, we know that a lot of people are still remote learning, remote working. We are streaming live, so shout out to our Performing Arts Division because they are making this happen. It's on our official Oxnard College YouTube channel. So they can check it out on YouTube at any time. So it will be recorded and it will be available for everybody to view at their own leisure. So please grab your lunch, take a seat. We'll get started shortly with Imposter Syndrome presentation. And then we have an awesome panel of students and faculty and classified representatives who are first gen. So thank you so much. Don't let me stop you from eating. Enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. It's 12 o'clock. We're going to start our program. And we just want to give a special thanks to all the people behind the scenes making today happen. So we have OC STEM, Proyecto Éxito, the University Transfer Center, Career Center, ASG, SSS Trio, Upward Bound Trio, OCPA, and then Condor to Condor Peer Mentorship. So thank you all so much. We're really excited that everybody's coming together to make this happen. I think sometimes people, see me, but it's not Gabby. Trust me. It's a collaboration that started out of a retreat. Somebody said, let's do something for First Gen. And then we're all working really, really hard to make this happen for our students. Yay, our students. So I'm about to introduce our keynote speaker today, Dr. Shannon Trusts. As you all may know her, our career counselor, and she did her dissertation for her doctorate degree on the Imposter Syndrome. And one too many students that I talk to about the Imposter Syndrome have no idea what I'm talking about. I think it's very normal that we don't actually reflect on our journey in education until 5-10 years later and say, dang, I was really going through it, you know? So it's really important that we empower our students and that we connect so that they understand that they're not alone, that a lot of us are here in education because we want to help, and because many of us have gone through some of the similar journeys and struggles in education, we want to make sure that we open the doors for them. So that's why it was really important for us to ensure that we talk about the imposter syndrome, call it out, recognize it, and hopefully together we minimize what that impact looks like for our students. So without further ado, I want to introduce and hand the mic over to Dr. Shannon Trusts. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabby. Hello, everybody. Okay, let's try that one more time. Hi, everybody. Thank you, so much better. Wow, that really helped the imposter fears, let me tell you. All right, so if we can go ahead and get the slides up on the screen. Oop. How many of you have heard of the imposter syndrome before? Maybe you've heard it said the imposter phenomenon. Anybody? How many of you have not heard of it? A couple of you. Okay. So we're going to chat a little bit about what that means, but I'm going to be vulnerable with you today, and I'm going to let you know that I am the poster child for the imposter syndrome. Okay? As I'm sitting here creating this PowerPoint, and I feel like I'm talking really loud, maybe I should hold this out here. I'm creating this PowerPoint and coming to the stage and seeing all of your faces, the anxiety is just through the roof. And I'm sitting here thinking, why would they ask me to do this? There has to be so many other people in this world that could do a better job of talking about the imposter syndrome than I can. And then I thought to myself, that is quintessential imposter fears speaking in my brain right now. Okay, and it's okay if you had those thoughts before. So for those of you who haven't heard of the imposter phenomenon, we're going to consider a few phrases. So I just want you to think about these as I say them and think if you've ever thought them to yourself, or if you regularly think them to yourself, you might also struggle with imposter fears too. So consider these. I believe my successes were a fluke. Even when I do well, I don't think I really deserve it. I worry about being outed as incompetent. I worry people will find out that I'm not as smart as they think I am. Or maybe I'm not as capable as they think I am. I downplay my achievements. It's hard for me to accept compliments. I feel like I'm just making it up as I go. I don't really know what I'm talking about. Is there anyone here that identifies with that? Maybe a couple of those? Okay, keep your hands up really quick, nice and high if you're comfortable. I want everyone just to take a look around and briefly see here how many of us are raising our hands. And if I could put both hands up, I would. What does this say to you? How many hands did you see? A lot. It's common. Okay? It's absolutely common. And if I can leave you with anything today, it's that you're not alone. So what is the imposter syndrome? Really, it's a paradox. And it's really common among high-achieving people. And each and every one of us, just simply by being here, are high achievers. And I realize I'm probably sitting here talking to a sea of people with imposter fears, and you probably don't believe that. But we are all high achievers just by being here. College students, college graduates. You've all made it very far in life just to be sitting where you are, okay? But with the imposter syndrome, really what it is the inability to internalize the successes that we have. And what we do is we tend to attribute any success that we've already achieved to external factors or things that are outside of our control. Things like luck, sometimes pity, as sad as that sounds. Okay, sometimes it's just because people like us and I'm charming. That's why I got the job. That's why I got the grade. My teacher felt bad for me. Those are the things we tend to think about when we think about our successes. When realistically, maybe it's because I'm capable. Maybe I'm smart. Maybe I have the ability to make it. But with the imposter syndrome, that tells us the opposite. So really it's a paradox. No matter how much you achieve, no matter how much education, no matter how much training, no matter how much you can look at yourself on paper and think, look at all of these things that I've done, we can't internalize that as something that we deserve. Shouldn't say we can't. But if it's unchecked, we can't. Okay? It's very common in high achievers, even though there's evidence to the contrary. And really, again, it's just not being able to internalize the success. And it creates feelings of extreme self-doubt. Extreme self-doubt. What it looks like. Obsessing over mistakes. Persistent and pervasive negative self-talk, negative internal dialogue. I'm the queen of that. Does anyone else do that? Is anyone else even aware of the messages that they're sending to themselves? I spent 25 years talking terribly to myself and didn't even have the slightest awareness that I was doing it, because in my head, that was normal because I'd done it my whole life. So I didn't think there was anything wrong, but I felt bad. I felt anxious. It was awful. But to me, I didn't even recognize it because it was such a normal state of being for me. We need to flip that script a little bit and bring in that self-awareness. Obsessing over mistakes, never feeling good enough. Has anyone done that before? The good enough? I hate the good enough syndrome. That should be a syndrome in and of itself. Anxiety or depression. Intense procrastination or excessive workaholism. I'm really, really good at finding new projects to take on. As much as I love everything I do, I'm also really good at finding projects to take on in order to avoid feeling this. Some of us go the opposite way. Some of us do both. But some of us go the opposite way and we procrastinate instead. Because that way, if something doesn't get done, it's not because I wasn't capable. It's just because I didn't do it. Does that make sense? Is anyone here feeling triggered yet? Just me? Okay. Fear of success or a fear of failure. And then consider this phrase, I don't belong here. I don't belong here. Often when I get asked to do this type of thing, or I get asked to serve on some kind of committee, I sit at this table and I look at people all around me who are just phenomenal educators, phenomenal researchers, phenomenal admins, phenomenal whatever they are. And I sit there and I think, why am I sitting at this table? What am I doing here? And again, I have to check myself. Oh, maybe I'm one of those phenomenal people too. I hope. And perfectionism. And it's a vicious cycle because how many of us here are perfect? Just me? Okay. And what happens is we end up in these maladaptive coping cycles. And what I mean by that is it starts with that extreme self-doubt or that lack of belief that we're capable or smart enough of doing something or to do something. And sometimes it leads to defiance or that avoidance, right? Oh, you don't think I can do it? Watch me. But then we get stuck in this cycle of, oh, well, I said you don't think I can do it. Watch me. Now I got to prove myself so that I'm not outed as not smart enough or not capable enough or strong enough or whatever it is enough. That's anxiety provoking. Because now I got to keep up an image. Now I have to manage impressions. Heaven forbid I make a mistake, because that's just going to ruin everything and the walls and the facade are just going to come falling down. Right? They're finally going to find me out. And again, that can lead to procrastination, to overworking, to perfectionism. And guess what? When we can't keep up that perfect image, because I didn't see a single hand go up when I said, is anyone perfect? And that just increases the self-doubt even more because I expected myself to be perfect. And it's this all or nothing thinking, right? If I'm not perfect, if I don't do everything right, then I must just do it all wrong. And that's just not true. So how do I get here? So you saw so many hands go up when I asked if anyone identified with those phrases. How did I get here? There's a lot of messaging that goes on from the day that we're born to our present day that tells us who we should be, where we're supposed to belong, what we should do, what we should study, which career pathways fit us or not. Some of those messages are direct, and some of them are indirect. Some of them are very subtle, but they still speak to us just as loudly, and they embed themselves in the subconscious part of our brain that likes to nag at us. Okay? Sometimes it's our family. Sometimes it's society. Sometimes it's our friends. Often it's the closest people to us that are sending us these messages, and it's not necessarily as if they're doing it to keep you down. Most of the time it's not intentional, but there are social and cultural factors and biases that persist that tell us who we should be and who we shouldn't. And if we happen to fall into a category that we shouldn't be in, okay, maybe we're the first in our family to do something, okay? Maybe I'm a woman and I want to get into a male-dominated field, or I'm a man and I want to get into a female-dominated field. Am I going to feel like I belong there? If society is telling me no all the time, of course you're going to feel like those imposter fears are coming up. And that's normal. It's normal to feel those things. Things like stereotype threat, being afraid to uphold that stereotype about whatever diverse aspect of you that you happen to have, or being aware of your gender and the stigma that is associated with your gender in certain areas. And just thinking of those things alone can bring up so much anxiety that your performance can go down when normally you would perform at a much higher rate. It's also normal. And the pressure to represent an entire group. How many of us here are first-generation college students? Does that come with pressure sometimes? Holy moly, it would. I'm the first one. And I hope that you can sit here and think of how courageous and brave and resilient you are because of that. But the imposter syndrome might be telling you otherwise. Now, it's really important to note when I talk about imposter syndrome, this is not a clinical diagnosis. It's not a mental health disorder. It's just a very, very common set of beliefs. And because of that, it means we can undo them. It means we can heal from them. And it means we don't have to think these negative thoughts about ourselves. And we don't have to continue to perpetuate that cycle for ourselves. That's the positive side. So why does it matter? Why do I need to know these things? Because people who experience the imposter syndrome or the imposter phenomenon quite regularly, like I used to and sometimes still do, we burn out faster. If we're working super hard all the time to make sure that we're not found out, we're going to burn out. That's tiring. Does anyone do that? You just work extra hard all the time to just make sure you're perfect? That's not sustainable. I've heard that so many times throughout my life. It's not sustainable. What you're doing, Shannon, is not sustainable. It's great, but it's not sustainable. But gosh darn it, I'm going to keep trying. Okay? It's not sustainable. And even if you are, because all of you are high achievers, even if you are putting out great work and doing all these wonderful things, it's not great for our mental health. And when we're not taking care of our mental health, we have physical effects on our bodies as well. Fast heart rate, high blood pressure. Mine goes through the roof sometimes. I kind of avoid blood pressure cuffs because of it. Okay? It's a problem. Dropping out is another risk. Students who aren't able to address this and don't get the support that they need can often drop out of school. That's not what we want. We didn't come here to drop out. We came here to achieve, and you're all capable of that. Again, that stress, that anxiety, that negative impact, that constant cycle of internal dialogue that's just so mean to yourself. I constantly remind myself, hey, would I ever say what I just said to myself to anybody else? The answer is usually no. So if I can't say it to somebody else, why would I say it to me? Why do I deserve that, but no one else does? Because I don't. You can lose out on opportunities. And often you lose out on opportunities because you just don't take them, right? There's someone else that could do that. Someone else is going to be better than me. I can't do this. Why would they ask me to do that? I'm not going to choose that. They're just going to say no. That fear of rejection, right? Because that rejection only affirms that limiting self-belief that we have. We don't want that. We don't want that affirmation. It's not the kind of affirmation we want. And lack of fulfillment in your work and or studies. We don't want to limit ourselves from opportunities that could provide us such immense growth because the imposter syndrome is telling us we can't do something. So what can I do about it? This is the good part, right? What can I do about it? You got all the really depressive stuff, right? What can I do about it? Find your people. That's why I'll have you raise your hands and look around the room. There are so many of us, I'm sure most of us at some point in our life have experienced these thoughts, these doubts, and these beliefs. Find your people. Find your people, find your fellow students, find the faculty here that feel that same way, because I saw a ton of faculty here who felt the exact same way that you're feeling. You're not alone in that, right? Find your people. I want you to seek positive relationships with those of us who are here at Oxnard College and wherever you transfer out to. Okay, if you're feeling self-doubt, if you're feeling imposter fears, I'm an AA 119. I'm your peer, but I'm also a faculty member here. Let me talk to you. Okay, let's have a chat about it. Name it, speak it, and write it. The thing about internal dialogue is typically it doesn't get out. And when it doesn't get out, we allow it to run wild because there's no one else there to help us stop it. And that's not what we want. Name the emotion that you're feeling. If you need to speak it out loud or you feel courageous enough to speak it out loud, speak it out loud. And if you feel like you're not capable of speaking it out loud, write it down. But don't let it stay stuck in here. Make sure it comes out. And the reason we want it to come out is because once it's out, we can reframe it. We can address it. We can better understand it. And we can have more of a self-awareness of it. Say yes to opportunities. Sorry, Gabby, but I almost bailed on this so many times. Okay? But say yes to the opportunities. How else are you supposed to improve if you're not actually taking the opportunities that are in front of you? How else are we supposed to get that opportunity? How else are we supposed to grow? Okay? Take the opportunities. Look for them. Practice the growth mindset. Okay? We are allowed to make mistakes. I'm going to say that again because I still don't believe that one. I am allowed to make mistakes. Can you all say that? I'm allowed to make mistakes. Perfect. Okay, failure, I hate that word, is just feedback. All failure is telling me where I need to improve. I know my areas where I'm strong and the areas where I can make adjustments. That's all it is feedback. It is not the end of the world, as much as it feels like it. It's not the end of the world. It's just feedback. It's just telling me what I can do differently. And then I can go find my mentors, perhaps my mentors who also struggle with imposter syndrome, and I can figure out, how do I address my areas of improvement? How do I get there? Because again, I don't have to do it by myself. I just don't. And remember that you're not alone. Maya Angelou, Einstein, I believe Emma Watson, Tom Hanks, and Michelle Obama, so many famous people that are huge successes in this world struggle with the imposter syndrome. The problem is we don't talk about it. So we all struggle in silence and it doesn't go anywhere. So this is a little quote from Michelle Obama. She says, "I still have a little imposter syndrome. It doesn't go away. It's that feeling that you shouldn't take me that seriously because what do I know?" I literally said the same thing coming up here, you guys. I share that with you because we all have doubts in our abilities, about our power and what power is. And each and every single one of us is powerful. If you don't believe me, believe Michelle Obama. She's a smart one. So here's what I want you to do. We had statements at the beginning of this session, and they weren't so wonderful. They were kind of negative, a little yucky feeling, right? So we're going to shift those a little bit. So what I want you to do is, if you're comfortable, I want you to go ahead and close your eyes. If you're not comfortable closing your eyes, just find a spot on the floor, up here on the stage somewhere, just focus on that. And go ahead and take a couple deep breaths with me. And we're going to repeat these things in our head. I am deserving of my successes. I am capable and I am resilient. I am intelligent. My achievements are deserving of recognition. I am deserving and accept compliments with grace. I belong here. Go ahead and open your eyes. If there's anything you take away from today, is don't do it by yourself. And each and every single one of you belongs here. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Shannon, for that keynote lecture and words of wisdom. We really, really appreciate it. And I really hope, can I have students raise their hand, please? Because students, you right here are the most important people in the room. Just know that all of us here at Oxnard College want to help you. Those who have gone through this journey want to build you up and help you get there. When you checked in, you should have received a little notepad. Did everybody get a notepad? So when we were placing orders for our shirts, I asked folks to give us words of wisdom for students who are first gen. And if you browse through the notepad, you have different quotes from different staff, faculty, and possibly even students who have words to share with you about being first generation in your family. So some of them are short and sweet, and others have a lot more to share. But again, this is a village of people who are rooting for you. And just please use it. I've had people say, oh, no, I don't want to use it. I just want to like read the quote of the day. No, use it. That's what it's for. We can always print more. So just remember that we all believe in you, and we want to get to the point where you believe in yourself just as much as we believe in you. With that said, I'm going to transition over to our panel. We have quite a lineup of representatives, some students and some a faculty and a classified. So I'm going to invite our panelists to come on up on stage. So we have Dr. Leti Mojica. Let's have Gilbert Downs. Are we clapping now? Dr. Leti Mojica, Gilbert Downs, and then students Rosie Gonzalez and Crystal Gomez. If you can please come on up. Woo! I see you guys brought fans.
I know that.
That's right. And now we all will too. So this panel is really meant to have real talk, right? The good, the bad, and the ugly in our journey in education. And it's going to be moderated by the one and only Professor Jose Maldonado. So come on down.
Mask on, mask off.
It's up to you. You're outdoors. You can take
Okay.
I know.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Hopefully I don't fall from these stairs right here. So we'll be sharing this microphone. Is that cool? Okay. A COVID negative, I promise. Okay. So let's give another round of applause to Shannon for that awesome presentation, by the way. It's funny because one of the things she said is that people who have imposter syndrome tell themselves all the time, I don't belong here, right? And it's weird because every meeting I go to that Oscar Cobian is at, he tells me the same thing. He's like, you don't belong here. What are you doing here? So it really triggered me, you know? But, you know, we're talking about first gen. We're going to have our panelists introduce themselves, tell you a little bit about themselves. So in terms of myself, I was a first generation college student as well. My mom dropped out of high school. My father got the equivalent of, I'd say maybe like a 6th or 7th grade education down in Michoacan, Mexico, where my family's from. I actually did my undergrad straight out of high school. I went to UC Santa Barbara, where I double majored in English and Spanish. I went on and got a master's degree at Cal State Long Beach, and I'm currently working on my doctorate at Fresno State. And thank you. And I'm somehow a professor of English at a college, and statistically, I'm not supposed to be here, right? I shouldn't be here right now, but I am. And you know, despite all the challenges, despite being first gen, this is the type of stuff that we work here to do at Oxnard College because we know what we're capable of, and we want to show our students that, right? So without further ado, we'd like to hear from our panelists as well, and we're actually going to begin at the far end. And then here's the microphone for you.
So hi, I'm Gilbert Downs. Can't tell if you guys can hear me well. No. All right. So my story is a little different, but to make it short and sweet, you know, this imposter syndrome was real for me. If when I was out of high school, if I could not get an A in a class, I dropped it. So I looked for any little reason to fail. And the result was taking a lot of classes and dropping them until I was academically dismissed. So from Ventura College. And it took a lot of time and a lot of people to convince me to try it and try again. And it took close to 20 years to get my degree, but I had to keep going with it, and it was okay to fail. It taught me things over and over again. And it taught me that I didn't need to be perfect, despite what I kept hearing in my head. So that's where I am.
Okay. Oh, yeah, you could hear me. So my name's Leti Mojica, and I am the first in my family to go to college. When I was in high school, I remember my grandmother, my mom's mom, always asking, how much longer before you graduate from high school? And I would say, I'm almost there. Well, good, because once you graduate, you need to start working so that you can help your parents. Your parents work hard, especially your mom. You know, working in the fields, picking strawberries, and then coming home and still have to cook and clean for you guys. You guys need to start helping her out. So once you're done with high school, you need to, you know, go to work, because it's not like you're gonna become a teacher. That's what she would tell me. So I always share that story with all my students and friends, because I always said to myself, my grandma told me I would never be a teacher. And I didn't become a teacher not because she said I wouldn't be a teacher, but because I didn't want to be a teacher. But in some way, what we do in education, we are teaching students every day, you know. And so I didn't think I was gonna go to college. And again, it wasn't because of what my grandma would tell me. It was just because my parents didn't go to college. My parents only had a second, third grade education from Mexico, Michoacan. So I have older siblings. They didn't go to college. They finished high school, but they didn't go to college. So I couldn't turn to them and ask, hey, so what do you do? How do you navigate this whole college process? I basically decided to come to Oxnard College because I became a single parent at a very young age. In fact, when I was graduating from high school, Channel Islands, my daughter was sitting in the bleachers 6 months. She was 6 months sitting in the bleachers, and her mama was, you know, earning her high school diploma. I didn't start college right off after, because I wanted to spend some time with her, and I really wanted to, you know, think about what it was that I needed to do or what I had to do. I then, 2 years after she turned 2, then I decided, okay, it's time for me to do something. And that's when I decided to come here to Oxnard College, and I met with my favorite counselor, Jose Vega. I don't know. Do I say more or?
We can. There'll be time for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Go on.
But spoiler alert, she made it.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, you're good.
Hello. My name is Rosie Gonzalez, and I am a first year, first gen, obviously, because, you know, it's a first gen event. I graduated from Oxnard High School, and I'm shy, so I'm a little bit nervous.
You're good.
So originally I wanted to go to a 4-year. I didn't, you know, I was like, 2-year. I wanted to go straight to college. I wanted to be like, wow, look, I made it. But I was not prepared at all. When COVID happened, it like totally knocked me off course. My junior year, I would wake up like at 6 to be at class at 7, and then I would take like classes at OC here. So I would take the bus after school, come here, and leave like at 9. So it would be from Monday to Thursday from like 7 to 9 every day. And that takes a toll on you. So when COVID came, it kind of, you know, pushed me back. So I had this like set up and then it came knocking down, and then senior year came and everything was online, and I procrastinate so much. It is bad. To last minute, like it can be 5 minutes to do, and I'm like doing it. I'm like, okay, I'm doing it. And I know a lot of people procrastinate. I know everybody knows the feeling. I'm not the only one. So when I came to college, I was scared of, I didn't know what I was doing. My mom, she got pregnant when she was, I think, 16 and had my brother. And she did graduate high school, thankfully, but as much as she wanted to go to college, she did attempt a couple classes, but then dropped because my dad got in this really bad accident. So she had to work. And I also have an older brother that also attempted college, but didn't go well either. So I'm kind of, figuring this out on my own, and it's hard. And, I want people, when I have assignments to do, and I would like to ask my parents for help, but the classes I'm taking and what they know, it's totally different. So I'm kind of just yay, I don't know what to do. But I don't know, I don't want to talk anymore.
You're good. Thank you.
All right, hello, okay. Hi, my name is Crystal Gomez. I graduated from Rio Mesa High School in June. First semester here at Oxnard College. My mom did graduate from high school. She started her semester in community college as well. However, my grandma became pregnant, and then she had to help her with the baby and everything, so she had to drop out very early on in the semester. My dad came from Mexico, so he didn't even finish high school. It's kind of hard to talk about school with them because they don't really. It was a different time. One of my parents didn't even finish, high school. I wanted to double major here at Oxnard College, but it was a bit overwhelming, so I stick to just one major in film. And yeah. I'm good.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your journey. So we're gonna go on into some questions now. Don't feel necessarily obligated to answer each one, but if you do have something to share, we would like to hear from you. So the first one would be, how does it feel to be the first family member to go to college? And again, this is for anybody. How does it feel to be the first family member to go to college?
So it feels great. It feels great. Initially, it is a scary feeling, but like I mentioned earlier, when I first got here to Oxnard College, I happened to meet with Jose Vega, and I was very determined when I came here because, again, I was a single parent. I was on welfare, went through that whole system, and so I basically went in his office and I told him, Jose, I need to get out of here in 2 years. So create a plan that's gonna get me out of here in 2 years. I don't have time to play around or to waste these other students. And he did exactly that. He asked me, what is it that you wanna do? And I said, I wanna be a counselor like you. Exactly like you, I wanna be a counselor. And I remember him saying, you're gonna be a better one than me. So he was very encouraging. He created my educational plan. I worked here on campus. So for me, again, initially it was a scary feeling, but with all of the support and the resources that Oxnard College had to offer, and people like Jose who provided me the information on those resources and support, I tapped into them, and it really made it a lot easier. So I'm grateful for that experience. I'm now able to share that with even my own kids now. But yeah, it was initially it was scary, but coming here made it a lot easier.
So the resources are there, you just have to go look for them.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. Did you want to add?
Yeah, so what was the question again?
Yeah, so how does it feel to be the first family member to go to college?
So there's a lot of emotions. I'm scared, I'm excited, I'm happy. It's kind of, I've been going for school since like preschool. It's kind of just like, oh, okay, next. But it was different. So I do struggle with depression and I do have ADHD. And let me tell you, it is hard, especially during COVID and these online classes. I don't know, it's scary, it's hard. I don't want to tell my teachers like, hey, can you give me an extension? Because I don't want them to know, because then, then I'll feel like a failure, like the imposter syndrome. And yeah.
Oh yeah, thank you for sharing that. That means a lot to us that you would share that with us. Of course, as faculty, what I'll say is whenever a student reaches out to me with challenges like that, the last thing I think is that they're a failure or that there's something wrong with them. If anything, it takes a lot of strength to reach out and point out like, hey, you know what, I'm struggling with this. Maybe I can have an extension or something. So that's something that I would add to that. Don't ever feel like that means that you're a failure, that you're weak or anything like that. So unless anybody would like to add anything else, we're going to go on to the next question. So the second question is, what challenges did you face as a first-generation college student, and how did you overcome those challenges?
I could start with this one. The one thing for me that was the most important was realizing I couldn't do everything. So I was convinced in my head that I had to do everything and it had to be perfect the first time. And so that's where a lot of the failure happened. And it wasn't until I realized that I needed to ask for help from people, that I couldn't do it all, that I started becoming successful. So it's so hard to admit to people that you can't do something. But the reality is none of us are perfect at everything. And once I finally got over that, things got a lot better. So it's reaching out, it's admitting that it's okay to ask for help, and the help is there for a reason.
All right, so for me, the biggest challenge was money. As everyone knows, college is expensive. I wanted to go to, just like Rosie, a 4-year, but that really wasn't an option unless, I wanted my parents to be in debt. But yeah, there's a lot of scholarships out there, a lot of help for students, which I'm very grateful for. On campus, there's lots of jobs that you can do, and yeah, I'm very grateful for all that help.
Thank you. Anybody else? Challenges that you face as a first-gen student? We good? All right. So next one, I really want you to think about this one, all right? So think about this. No one in your family before your generation, at least, got a college degree, right? So what do you think what factors do you think led you to make that decision of like, you know what, I'm gonna go get my degree, despite not having that example?
I would say it's kind of expected from my parents. It's kind of just like, oh, well, go to school. We didn't get the opportunity. My dad also came from Michoacan, repping. And
that's right.
He works really hard in his job. He wakes up really early in the morning, gets home late. And, it's kind of just like, well, like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to wake up like at 3 a.m. in the morning to get off for a job and then drive in a truck and then hurt your knees. So I was like, what is the alternative? Maybe going to college and doing something that interests me.
I will say this, being a professor, your knees still hurt sometimes, but I get what you're saying though. Also, we should just call this Michoacan Day, right? Like, is that cool? Yeah. Let's hear from somebody else. So thank you for sharing that. Why did you decide to get a college degree? What led you? What motivated you?
My daughter. Like I mentioned earlier, my daughter was 6 months when I was graduating from high school, so she is the reason and what led me to come to college. I really wanted to provide a better quality of life for her. like she mentioned, I didn't want to, work in the fields. In fact, my parents would take us like in the summer to kind of go and experience that. And I remember me crying in the fields, picking green beans. And they would tell me, this is nothing. If we took you to pick strawberries, that's a much harder, job to do. And at that time, I do remember both of my parents saying, and this is why you need to make sure that you study hard and stay in school so that you can do better than us. But really, what motivated me to come to college and be the first in my family to go to college and earn a college degree, a bachelor's, a master's, and now a doctorate.
That's right.
Was my daughter.
Anybody else for this question? We got plenty more, so no worries. All right, let's go to the next one. So thinking about your experience, either so far or in the past, how can educators support first-generation college students? What can they do to help you along your journey? Maybe you can think back, for example, of something that somebody did or something that you wish somebody did.
Well, I don't want to be the only one speaking, but
Maybe you'll get somebody going once you say something.
so my journey here at Oxnard College, I really can't complain about, my time here at OC, because everyone, and not because I'm not being biased because I work here, I'm just, there's a lot of support. We are the college with the heart. The community here, they want to help you. We want students to succeed. Where I had a bit of a challenge was actually when I was going through my doctorate. During that time is when I really felt like I don't belong here. This is not for me. I would look around the room and there was maybe only 3 others that looked like me. And I said, I don't belong here. And then the experience that I had with the professor from there made it even worse, where it really made me feel you don't belong here. But in light of that situation and that experience, I persevered, I pushed hard, and completed my doctorate. So to go back to your question, I think what can educators do is really be there for the students, is understand what the students' needs are, and ensure that we give students and our community what they need to be successful, whatever that means to them. But really just listening to and understanding who we're serving and what challenges they face and how can we help them overcome those challenges and feel them welcome. Providing that welcoming environment and open arms and letting them know it's okay, you're not the only one, and we're here to help you.
So kind of try to put yourself in their position, right? Try to see what it feels like to be there.
Yes.
Anybody else would like to share? Yeah,
I
go ahead.
totally agree with what she was saying. Just having people that, that they've been through the same thing, because, you look at them, the professors, what do they know? We don't realize that they went through a journey of their own. And it's just But what I really like is one of my English teachers, Mr. Anthony Rodriguez, when he sends out an email or when he has a paper assignment, he always ends it with, you got this, something like, you got this, you belong here. And it's nice to know that, just things like that, you don't think that they can make a huge impact, but they do. It's just well, maybe I do got this,
Sometimes it's those little things, right? I gotta work on that because my emails I usually say you don't got this, you can't do it. But I'm gonna switch it up though.
I don't believe that.
Something that you said, Letty, actually I kind of connected with, but different, because you said that sometimes you look around the classroom and you notice that nobody else looks like you, right? And so it's interesting how we take the same stimuli but differently, because what came to your mind is I don't belong here, right? But just to share a little bit of myself, that happened to me all throughout college, right? At UC Santa Barbara, and then at my master's program, and even my doctorate, I would look around, it's like, nobody else here looks like me, but the way I took it was, that's why I do belong here, because nobody else here looks like me. So basically, if I'm not in that room, none of us are, you know? And when I say us, I mean, it could be anything, low income, that's my background, first gen, Mexicano, whatever, like, I have to be in that room, you know? So, but again, we all take things differently, right? And I've heard a lot of people say both. On to the next one. So, what helped you the most in your first year of college?
For me, I would say the resources. Like, I'm in SSS trio, which, oh my gosh, can I tell you how much it has helped me? Like, having their own counselor and like them actually talking to you and helping you. Not like, you know how we have so many students here that like the counselors, like, let's say you're not in like some sort of program that has their own counselors. They just get you in, put in your classes and leave. Like, you know, am I even supposed to take this? It's kind of just like go, go, go. And it's nice to have a space to sit down, like if you want to do homework, or like, you know, if you don't want to go to the library when there's like a bunch of people, it's nice to have like an enclosed space with people you know and you can get to know and you don't feel alone.
Yes, thank you. Anybody else? Would you like to? Yeah.
What has helped me the most with like my transition here to college would be like Rosie said, programs like Trio and FYE. It has helped me with their events, talk with people, make friends, and know that I'm not alone. I'm looking around right now. There's a lot of people here that are like me, first generation. That's very inspiring.
Thank you. Go ahead.
And for me, I would just like to change this question just a little bit and say, what helped you the most in your first successful year of college? Because for me, it was a lot of try and try again. And in that first successful year, I could pinpoint it exactly to a professor that decided to take me under her wing. And so she had me come to her office to take tests in front of her so she could see what was going on. And the level of care that someone took into me made all the difference. And so if you could find somebody on this campus that you just connect with, that you could work with, that's what's going to help you succeed. You know you have someone rooting for you.
Thank you. So we're going to go, I'm actually going to go to this next question, and maybe I can switch up the schedule a little bit and we could even open it up to some folks in the audience because I think we still have a little bit of time. Is that good, boss? Okay. So what piece of advice would you share with incoming first-generation college students? What would you tell somebody who was in your position now?
Don't be afraid to ask for help. There's lots of programs out there that will support you in like anything you need. It can be just a space to do your homework or someone to talk to. I think that's very important.
Anybody else? What advice would you give to somebody who's just starting off on their journey as a first-generation college student?
I would say explore your options. Don't just rush into one field and be like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. Like there's a bunch of classes that you can take to find out like, what do you enjoy? Now, I'm gonna rush in because this job gives me money. Like, you don't wanna spend your rest of your life doing something you don't enjoy.
Very good advice, just in general, right? Letty, I think you were gonna add something?
Yeah, I think for me, I would say to try to stay connected. And know that you belong here, and stay connected, build those relationships. If possible, get yourself involved outside of the class, because that's really going to also help you be a successful college student. And like, I'm sorry, I forgot your name, not Rosie, but Crystal. Like Crystal said, ask questions. A lot of the times, we're even afraid to ask because we think we're going to ask a dumb question, and there's no such thing as a dumb question. So ask questions, stay connected, be involved, and and go see a counselor as much as you can. Go see a counselor. That's what we're here for. See a counselor once a semester, twice a semester. Stay connected.
Yeah, there's so much research that shows that the more involved students are in extracurriculars, their success rates are way higher just because they feel that stronger connection with the campus.
Yes.
Did you want to add anything, or would we like to?
Yeah, I just want to say that for anyone that's starting college, go at a pace that will allow you to succeed. So many people want to get out of here as quickly as they possibly can, and will take 16, 18 units, and will fail because it's just too much. Be realistic on what you're able to do. Think about what your outside priorities are if you have work or if you have family to take care of, and really think about what is everything that you can handle. And if you go to a semester and you take too many units and you end up failing class, that's fine. It's a learning experience. You now know what you're capable of, and we will continue. Just move forward.
Thank you for that. So now I'd like to turn it over to the audience. Is there any audience member who has a question or even a comment for our panelists? It's okay if you're not from Michoacan, I guess, but we'll still take your question. Anybody out there have a question, something that came up while they were talking? A comment? Yes, go ahead.
I would like to thank all of the panel members, and I would like to thank especially the two students that agreed to do this. I know it wasn't easy. If you're anything like most of us here, it's not easy to present.
I was gonna cancel last minute. I was like, how about like?
Just know that we appreciate all of you, but also our students. We appreciate you.
Yes.
And thank you to all that came.
Anybody else? Questions, comments for our panelists?
How is this going to be different next year when maybe some students come out and being okay for
So how do you think things will be different next year now that we're kind of coming back?
Can somebody repeat it in the mic so that the video can catch it?
Yeah, so they asked, thank you for the question. They asked, how do you think things will be different next year now that we're kind of slowly coming back to campus?
If I can be completely honest, I don't know. So much has changed over these couple years that we're just doing as we go. It's all a learning experience, and we got to figure it out together.
I think it's going to be even more important to really ask for help, because there's going to be more students like in the classroom. You're not going to really have one-on-one with your professor, so it's going to be very important to ask for help when you need it.
All right, so I'm going to hand it over to our MC, Gabby. Thank you so much, everybody.
There's a question.
Oh, we got a question over here. Okay, so thank you for the question. So the question is, do you consider yourself like a spearhead or a point that's driving forward for those who come behind you? Is that about right? Yeah. Maybe like younger siblings, little cousins, little neighbors?
Yes.
Oxnard?
So I have a little sister and a bunch of other cousins, but okay, so I'm a physics major and I'm a girl. So that's kind of, just in STEM in general, there's not a lot of women in there, or women of color. So I actually want to get my PhD in theoretical particle physics.
Awesome.
So, a PhD is like, just getting a bachelor's is, unheard of. So it's scary. I don't think I can do it. A lot of imposter syndrome, a lot of, maybe I shouldn't, and like going back and forth. So it's scary. But, let's see how it goes.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. You already put it out there.
You will do it.
Anybody else?
So I absolutely think so. I talk to my friends all the time about this, because it took me till I was 40 to get my bachelor's. And when people tell me how often that they're too old to go to school, like, no, you're not. So I plan on going to school a lot more, and 40 is just the beginning for me. On top of that, you know, I am a student over the years who has dealt with different things. So when I was first getting serious about school, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And so I lost my ability to hear on my left side and to walk and talk and write for quite a while. And those are things that I had to overcome to get to this point. And so I tell people when they tell me like, oh, I'm too old, I don't have the time, I'm like, look, I couldn't hear in class. I had to use a computer to type everything. I still got through it. I'm like, you have no issues, you go for it. So I absolutely think for those older adults that still want to go to school, you got to do it. And I advocate constantly for it.
All right, so this concludes our panel portion. Thank you so much to everybody. Now I'm going to hand it over to Gabby Rodriguez.
Thank you. Well, I really want to give another warm thank you to all of our panelists, because nobody's the expert in your journey except for you. And the more of us that are open and willing to share our own experiences, the more that our students will feel comfortable talking to us about their journey, right? My intended major was biochemistry. I was hanging out like a cat. I ended up doing cultural anthropology. Not good or bad, I'm here now, yay. But it's part of our journey. So I want to thank our panelists once again, but please don't leave. We're gonna close quickly. I'm gonna invite our good friend, Professor Zuniga, to come on stage and help us close. If you follow us on social media at Oxnard College, Instagram, Facebook, you may have seen some highlights. We've been trying to create a buzz about First Gen Day. We've been highlighting different folks who have been very open and willing to share about their journey and what First Gen means to them, right? Like being in the celebration today. So I'm gonna ask him to help us close, but then I'd love to get a group picture if we're able to. Are we able to, Crescencia? Yeah, a group picture? Okay, we'll try for that. So don't leave right away. All right, let me hand it over to Professor Zuniga.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So my name is Juan Zuniga Olea, and I'm a professor of mathematics here at Oxnard College. As some of you may know or read, I also was first generation. As some of you know now is that we all have a different journey, but at times we all think that we're going through this alone. So a lot of the times when I was a student here at Oxnard College, I thought that I was the only one going through this, that I was the only one struggling, that I was the only one, that I was the only first person in my family to go to college. But then I realized if I get involved and if I talk to other people, then I know and I realize that others also go through the same thing. Either the same idea or the same struggles that you're going through. So one of the things that I heard, the theme of this is, if you ask for help, there's a lot of help around. A lot of people are willing to help you out. When I went to Cal State Channel Islands, I was afraid to ask for help. But one of the first things that I did is I made a good friend, and with him I will ask questions. And then suddenly I was able to ask my professors for help. And it opened a lot of doors to me. A lot of help came my way because I was able and I was willing to ask for help. So you cannot go through this alone. One of the things that I tell my students is, we are the first person of contact. Your professors will be your first person of contact. Ask them for help. You will always, they will always have something to share with you. So please, if you read the little notebook, also a lot of people were saying, ask for help, get involved. So don't struggle alone, don't go through it alone, don't feel that you are the only one going through the same thing. There's a lot of us that are first generation and a lot of us that have made it, and we have some information that you may want to know and want to gather from them. So thank the panelists. I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you for all of it. Thank you, Gabby, for inviting me.
Of course, thank you. I'm going to ask Megan to come on over because I forgot we have raffles. So our peer mentors have been asking all the different divisions to, donate some raffle items. And we have backpacks, we have some goodie bags. And I know Megan wants to thank a few divisions that helped make that happen. So come on over, Megan. So Megan and Paulette. Here you go. And then she already has all your names. If you checked in, you're in the raffle. So who are we thanking?
We want to thank TRIO, AESG, EOPS, EAC, STEM, and FYE. Thank you for helping us put together the raffle. We know you guys could be spending your time elsewhere, so we did have an incentive. Since you guys stayed, we wanted to give you guys something back. And so we're going to do the raffle.
So it's the online wheel where they spin the wheel and we'll have a name.
So for our first winner, we have Sarah Cortez. Woo! I don't know who you are, but...
Are you here? Oh, okay. How do we get it to her? Have her come and see me. Just don't let me forget her name. Okay. First prize. Second prize. Second prize.
Andrea Cuevas.
Andrea Cuevas. Okay, this is her. You know what we could do? We could get our group picture, and then anybody who wants to stick around for the raffles, we can do that at the very, very end. Is that okay? You guys, I don't know if people have to get to at 1 o'clock. So Andrea Cuevas. So can we get everybody at the amphitheater so that we can get our group picture, and then we'll do another raffle. Unless you want to start spinning now. We're going to spin for the third winner, okay? Just so we get ready for the picture. Third winner right here. Check it out.
For the third winner, we have Paulina Gonzalez.
Paulina Gonzalez. Are they all in class? Paulina. Okay.
I feel like we should do it.
Group picture, group picture.
Okay.
The fourth winner. Oh, let's get together. We like each other.
Yeah.
I thought you had the crowd.
For the fourth winner, we have Richard Padilla. Yay!
Yay! You're the first winner in person.
Can I get everybody in the middle?
And then another.
For the fifth winner, we have Rosie Gonzalez. Okay.
The backpack, Megan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you guys gonna get in the photo?
And then one
All right.
raffle, and then you can join us. You can bring the mic if you'd like.
Okay. For the last one, we have Rosa Reyes.
Rosie! Spin again. Spin again. She wants to donate again.
All right. Last and not least, we have Samantha Guzman.
Samantha Guzman.
No?
Okay.
Okay.
Come see me in the Proyecto Éxito office. Grab a seat, ladies.
All right. So everybody looking here. 1, 2, 3. Let's do a cheer on the count of 3. All right, everybody raise their hand on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.